Hi there, Totally Amazing here, the home of scientific knowledge and discovery since the 1st of January 2K19. I'm just trying to get myself into a better position. And today we have one of these. This is the Ipod Touch. This one is the 16 gig version in white. And it has a fairly common problem in the sense where I paid £10 for it. The common problem is we're pressing buttons and on the back and it doesn't power on and doesn't do anything. Now this is actually a common kind of fault, and I'm going to show you now how to fix this and with the correct tools you'll need. So this is the home of scientific knowledge and discovery since the 1st of January 2K19. Let's crack on with this and let's get it done. So we're going to need some other things. Now, interestingly enough, this is actually working, and as I said, I've actually only done this just to recreate the fault anyway. But anyway, it's still a common problem, and we're going to look at exactly what's going on with this now. That doesn't kind of help me because the display's sort of off. But without further ado, let's just get it over here. And the other thing we're going to need as well is a hairdryer. Now, I've already opened this up just to recreate the fault, as we said. So I'm only doing this purely now to show you guys on how to fix it. So let's crack on and get this done. Now, the other things you're going to need as well, you can get these off eBay, and on the inside there's going to be some adhesive backing. So like a double-sided adhesive sticker or like a double-sided adhesive pad. You can get 2 of those on eBay, a pack of 2 of them for around £1.20 or something. And of course, to get this off, you're going to need a hairdryer. Don't use a hot air workstation unless you absolutely have to, because they're typically too hot for this. So let's just get this open. Enough to, yeah, the screen's loosened. As I said, I've already opened this up already, so we know what's gone on inside. And there's the common fault that you'll see. We zoom right in where my finger is. This is usually the problem with these things. The ribbon cable has become detached. Now that can happen as over time any of the adhesive backing in here, and we have some of the adhesive here which is kind of loosened and worn off. So what we'll have to do is reconnect that, which we're going to try and do now very carefully. And we actually do have some of the adhesive backing on order, so I'm just going to try to reconnect that. And it will be done just like so. Now these things are a little bit fiddly. You just got to make sure that you take extra care not to damage the digitizer ribbon as well. Otherwise, you'll have to replace the whole screen. So we're just trying to get that back in. Well, we're still making sure we're on camera. There we go. And that appears to be back on. So we can just put this back together. And what we would do, turn the unit back over, give it another go with the heat. Just make sure that's pushed down. There we are. Turn the unit back over, and there we are. It's turned on. And as we said, we've already taken this unit apart anyway, so we already knew what was wrong with it. And about 50 people have asked me to make this video because that's essentially what the problem was. It's fairly common, a fairly common fault, but as we can see, that's now working just fine, and the whole kind of faulty screen deal there, that's why that has a red cross through that, because this is now working. Now, if in the meantime you don't have the patience, or you don't have the willing to be buying the adhesive backing from eBay or anywhere similar for that matter, and there is actually something else that you can do. You can go to most kind of shops and get double-sided tape or double-sided adhesive. However, it's not recommended to do this because you need to make sure it's of the same thickness for you to be able to stick the thing back together. Now, the other problem as well is if the adhesive has too high a tack on it, when you need to remove it for any reason with a hairdryer, there could be a case where you might not be able to. So make sure that it's not of the anything too permanent. It's always recommended to use the appropriate adhesives for these things. And again, that's an aluminium back on the other side of that. Fantastic conductor of heat as well, hence why with a hairdryer that will work. This one came out of Argos. It's a 1200 watt kind of deal, and that will be usually more than enough to do that. So that's kind of what we would want there. Now, you saw me poking that connector down with a metal sort of Torx screwdriver. I don't recommend using any sort of metal in there to do that. You can get plastic end tools that will do that for you, and I think there's some pretty specific things that you can get for that as well. But that's just generally how that is, and as we can see, everything there is thoroughly working. The home button, the digitizer as well. And again, that's something that you have to be mindful with on that, is not to damage the digitizer cable either, because the digitizer and the screen is this. This is as one unit as far as I know, so just be mindful of that. And just to show you that it's all working, there we are, no problems there. And again, you heard me tinkering around with it earlier, and for some reason it had gone into the sound settings, which was here, and I think you kind of heard it messing around with ringtones or something, but quite why that's there, I don't know, because this doesn't have the functions of a phone. It's just a 16 gig Ipod Touch, and it should say on the bottom, casing's a little bit worn here, so there it is, 16 gig. Okay, so let's just zoom back out for closing. So there we are. That's basically how to get inside one of these and repair a fairly common fault. Now, other recommended things that I like to use is beer, but please remember to abide by any laws in your country or state, and I'm not responsible for anything you do under the influence of alcohol or anything you do in relation to attempting to fix your device. This is purely a guide on showing you how it can be done. I don't recommend that you necessarily go and do this if you don't know really what you're about. But anyway, nonetheless, this is the 4th generation Ipod Touch, and that was a fairly common fault, because usually what happens is sometimes the adhesive just kind of wears off a little bit, and the sort of thing can move around internally, and then the screen cable becomes detached from the rest of the internal board. And obviously when that happens, then you won't know whether or not it's charging. And of course there is another fault as well, where if you leave these things for too long where you don't charge them, you can run the risk of either kind of messing with your battery or having problems with that. Now again, if it was a battery problem and the battery had started to swell inside that, well, it's technically a cell, a battery cell. So if it had a cell swell, that again could cause the thing to sort of peel its layers. But we knew anyway that it wasn't a cell swell, i.e. no problem with the battery. So just general testing made sure of that. There's not really much else to say other than that, really. That's just generally how it works. So once again, I'm yours truly. This is Totally Amazing, the home of scientific knowledge and discovery since the 1st of January 2K19. You have a fantastic day, as will I. I'm off to go and sample this, which is crate lager. And of course, I just need to sort my workstation down. As you see, I've got my hot air workstation. I've got here my bench power supply. And of course, my trusty hairdryer. So I'm off to go and deal with that. This today is some Saturday the 20th or whatever it is. Yeah, Saturday the 20th of April. So I'm going to go off, get this done, get these videos uploaded. And until then, take care and stay amazing.